Hello and welcome to The Immigrant. My name is Eze, and on this channel, I'll be talking about geopolitics, events, and ideologies that are going on in the world. This is the first video on this channel, so please leave a comment below and let me know how I perform on this video. And the video I'll be making today is about a story that I saw on Vice on their Informer series. So this series is where people go and give information, insider information about some kind of underground world, some type of event that the public don't know. And people conceal their identity when they go on the Informer to talk to Vice and share their experiences. So it's a story of a woman who went to Tanzania to volunteer to help the poor population. And according to what I learned from the video, she's from a wealthy family, and wealthy kids pay to volunteer in countries like Tanzania or countries that need charity help. So it's like volunteerism, she called it, where people pay. It's like a charity vacation, kind of, because they pay to do this. They don't volunteer and just go there and help without paying the charity organizations. So let's just dive right in and you get to understand by hearing from her, and I'll be giving my commentary along the line. So let's start.
Voluntourism is a multi-billion-dollar industry. It sells wealthier people access to impoverished and struggling communities in exchange for a life-affirming experience.
Did you hear that? It sells an opportunity to wealthy people to go or sell them access into poor communities. I don't think they need to buy such assets. Poor communities are very open. Anybody can go. Of course, you might need security because if people see you with wealth, they want to take some of it. But I'm not saying poor communities are rife with crime. What I'm saying here is that if you don't feel comfortable, I came from a poor community, and robbery is not something we see very common. It's when I move to cities, I see poor people stealing or people who just steal, right? So poor communities like the one I think she's referring to are not places where wealthy people cannot go. If you go there, let's say with big cars and showing off, I think the most attention you'll get is people kind of coming on the roadside looking at you. I don't think they need to pay to get the access. But that's not the point of this video, because this is an important video that is close to my heart as an immigrant.
Kids would see vans of volunteers pulling towards them, and they'd quickly rub dirt on their faces so that they'd be more appealing, ironically, to the volunteers and look like they needed more help. Each of us paid thousands of dollars to go on this trip.
Did you see that? It means that the kids are trained, or they've rehearsed, or somehow they know what to do to get more sympathy. So they can get, more volunteers coming in, or get the volunteers to want to do more, or give them more gift, right? So you get it. You get the point.
Of that trip fee, almost none of it went to the orphanage. The primary goal, we were told, was to build a library. Our work was so bad that the local builders who were working alongside us would come back while we were sleeping and undo our work and redo it. They abused children in orphanages while under the guise of being a volunteer. What you're being sold is the idea that you'll help a community. What you're really buying is an opportunity to help yourself.
Okay, did you hear that? They were there to build a library, but they lacked the skill to build. See, there's something I don't like to criticize the West, because I love the West a lot, and the West are doing a lot of things to help themselves and the rest of the world at the same time. And there are some people that are so naive in the West that when they go outside of the West, at least for them, is, I wouldn't even call it a sin. their mistake here is that they're in a different country to do something that they lack the skill to do, right? Because while they were sleeping, the local workers would go there, dismantle what they did the previous day, and redo it before they wake up. That's what she said there. So this is something I criticize the West a lot of doing, and a lot of people are guilty of this, not just the Westerners. You see, there are many things you cannot do in the West. What makes you think it's okay to do it somewhere else? That's the problem. Because I've lived in at least two countries in the West now, and I've read a lot about more countries in the West. I've visited different countries in the West, and what I see that is very straight in the West is there are things you cannot or you are not allowed to do if you are not qualified to do it. So if you don't have the qualification, the skills, the experience required to do some certain things, you are not allowed to do them in the West. You might be allowed to donate to accomplish them, hire people who can do those specific tasks like building, because building a library by some people, some volunteers from different countries, even local volunteers who lack the skill to build, this can collapse. This is dangerous. So this is something that you are not allowed to do in the West, even if your intentions are good and great. What makes you think it's okay to do it? The only construction I think unskilled person can do here in the West is doing something in your garden, not even building your own house, maybe fixing some things or repainting your apartment or your house or something, but not building a structure, especially a public structure like a library. So I think that's a shortcoming on their good intentions. Okay, let's continue.
I've been involved in
And by the way, I like the setup. I like how Vice set up this scene and this series of this Informer series. I really like it. And I hope the mask is not just for the show. I hope they truly conceal the identity of the informers.
voluntourism for over a decade. The language used by voluntourism tends to be along the lines of you can change the world and find yourself all at the same time. I wanted
Change the word and find yourself. Are you lost? Okay, that might sound harsh. I know these people have the best or good intention at the bare minimum, but intentions and outcome are two very different things.
to physically go out to be that change, make a difference, be a global citizen. I definitely was thinking about how it would look when I applied to college and how it would look on my resume. I
See how it will look on her profile, her resume, how she applied for school. And I think someone said when they have such profile, they get some types of scholarship or award or something. They get some type of recognition. So the intention was not just to help people, but like she said, find yourself. Okay, help yourself. So they paid. It's like it's a way to buy some type of recognition. Okay.
I convinced my parents to pay a couple $1,000s for me to be able to go on this trip to Tanzania. It was about 3 weeks long. For $3,000, we would get to volunteer at an orphanage, teach some English lessons, play with some kids, go on a safari. I was
Play with some kids, go to the safari, do some walk. It kind of comes out very wrong, but I don't think that's our intention. It comes out like, okay, going to the safari to see the animals. Before then, we kind of see these animals that are human-like, okay? That are like the appetizers before we go to the safari. Now, that might be completely out of point from my own part, but that is kind of the picture she's painting the way she stated it. Again, I think they have the best intention, because to convince your parents to pay a couple of thousands to go to somewhere to try to build a library or help the people, I think it's a good thing, except for few things which we'll get into a bit later.
Entirely unqualified and unprepared and should not have been allowed to do this. You are going to be working with young children who are extremely vulnerable. I came from an all-girls school where I had a walk-in closet, and I was pulling up to this all-girls orphanage where they shared bunk rooms without running water. The primary goal of our time at the orphanage was to build a library. We believed that we'd be able to build the whole thing while we were there, until you realize that none of us had ever done any construction work. There was a general feeling that the local workmen were lazy at times because they were showing up late. One morning, I woke up and decided to go outside. I started walking up where we were building the library, and I saw that there were men working at the construction site. I realized that they were taking apart what we'd done and redoing it, and then they'd let it set. And by the time that we would show up to work in a few more hours, we'd be none the wiser.
So, did you hear that? So, the local workers would dismantle what they did, which is the foreign volunteers, and then redo it in the middle of the night. See, that is so wasteful in terms of human resources, time, materials. Because one thing, if you don't know anything about building, once you set bricks and you have the cement in between, when cement is dry, there's no way you can melt it to reuse it. So they literally take that apart. I don't know if it's brick and cement. I don't know. Maybe if it's wooden building, it's a bit different, because woods, you can actually reuse them in a different way. But if it's brick, because in most places in Africa it's bricks and cement. So if that's what they were doing, if that was the materials they use in those constructions, that's wasting of your money, the money of all the donors who have donated to that project, the time of everybody involved, and it's just stress for everyone, and not good feeling for her, obviously, when she found out. So yeah, it's a lose-lose, huh? There's no win.
I told one of the chaperones from my school on the trip about what I'd seen, and was advised to keep it to myself. You have stories of people donating bags full of toys that the orphanage director then goes and gives to his own kids, or sells, or locks in a closet, so that the next group of volunteers will donate bags of toys. Because if they see kids playing with tons of toys, they won't bring toys. If they see kids sleeping on a good bed with a good mattress, they won't donate money for better beds and better mattresses. We did not eat our meals.
You see, that's the shortcoming of the whole world, how we see the world. Not just these people, but a lot of people. Because someone dress nice or look clean and sleep in a good bed, don't mean they're doing fine. That's not a sign that they're doing fine. It's a sign that they have a good bed. It's a sign that they dress nice, but it's not a sign that their life is going well overall. And that is just destroying the world. Like, yeah. You have a smartphone, so you're wealthy. You're not poor. And a Nigerian president once made that argument. Believe me, you can find it. You can Google it. Yeah. Most Nigerians have a mobile phone, not even smartphone. So Nigeria is not a poor country. The president said that. So this is a very narrow way. This is a very destructive way of seeing the world. And yeah, and another thing that she said that is very close to me, and I've said this to people years ago, when I lived in London and then I was in Nigeria, and I told people that the charity clothes that people donate, we buy them. I even have a bag here right now that I bought in Nigeria, which was somewhere in the Western world donated or thrown away in those charity recycling boxes, or that you see on your street, and we buy them in different countries around the world. So I have a bag. When I was much younger, when I was in high school, we used to buy Fubu, Timberland that were used in the West, and that's how we got our hands on Fubu, Timberland, and baseball hat, you name it. It was when I lived in London that I realized those things were donated to charities, but back home we buy them. We call them akube, fairly used, second hand, all sorts of name. Bend down select. That's mostly for the clothes because they kind of have like a big mat on the roadside or in the market, and they pour those clothes and you bend down to select which one you want to buy. Yeah, I wore some of those clothes I bought, and growing up, it was something we did. We truly did, and that was how we also were highly influenced by hip hop and the way people, Americans, dress, rappers and stuff. And we bought a lot of those, Nike trainers, you name it. Those stuff. They are not some things that we can buy in local stores. When I was growing up, that has changed now, and yeah, that was how we got it. Then we didn't even know it's for charity. And I did not grow up to say like this impoverished place where people just sleep on the roadside and pick dirt on the roadside to eat and stuff for beggars. I grew up in something Westerners would call small town America, where it's a small town and people kind of okay. They're not wealthy, they're not poor, they're just there. And it's everywhere. If you're a Nigerian, or if you know anything about Nigerians, or if you've been to Nigeria, there's a market in Lagos, in Yaba. The Yaba market is known for this. And there's another market, I forgot the name, which I've been to buy wallabies. I'm a big fan of wallabies. And my first, second, third wallabies was bought from those markets. This is a fact. I'm telling you this from experience. So yeah, of course, toys, clothes, people sell them. People sell them. Does the money goes to the charity? Because some of you might say maybe they sell them to recuperate some money to the charity. That's difficult to know because we buy them from people who don't work for charities or with charities. They go, and a lot of time they buy them from Benin Republic and bring them into Nigeria and sell to us, because the port where most of these goods lands in West Africa is I think is the port in Cotonou. You may say Cotonou, whatever. But yeah, that's how we got them. Those people are traders. They go there, they buy them. Does the sellers in Benin Republic, do they donate money or give the money? Is it the charities? Do they give the money to the charities? I don't know. I don't know. But I'm just telling you how these things ends up. That's a fact. It's not something that you can Google it, go online, you'll find a lot of information about this. So let's continue anyway. I think I'm beginning to rant a lot because this is something that I've experienced.
With the children in the orphanage, we ate separately, which was a rule at that orphanage. It was so we wouldn't know what they were eating. My typical breakfast at the orphanage would include fresh fruit juice, hard-boiled eggs, toast, jams, butter. The children were most often having beans and rice that they cooked themselves. We also would help them sort the pebbles out of the beans. A number of times, the girls were expected to sing for us. The exchange for them having a really good meal was to sing and dance. We were a predominantly white group. When I was in Tanzania, a young woman was questioning her sexuality and was being encouraged by this volunteer to live openly. The reality of this young woman's life was that she lived in a community where doing so would put her at very great physical danger. And
see, whoever you are, wherever you go, don't ever make the mistake of telling the local people to live the way you live in your home country or where you're coming from. The danger of that, and this is something a lot of people know. Imagine someone from Africa coming to Europe, or to live, or the way they living in Africa, or someone from Asia. You get the point. It's a very dangerous game, and there's a rule that I've set for myself, which I got from the Bible. The quote is, "Seek first the kingdom of God, and everything shall be added unto you." Now, I'm not a pastor, but the practical application of this quotation is this: when you go to a place, seek, or at least try to understand how they live, and that is the kingdom. The code of any society is the kingdom. So you seek the code of that society, and then every other thing shall be added unto you, because with the knowledge of a society, be it the constitution, be it the mentality of the people, such knowledge is what will help you to navigate through that society. And to go to a society where majority of the people have a very strong stance against any ideology or any individual feeling, because most of those places are called community for a reason. They have a community approach to life and how they live and how they run their community and their societies. Everybody kind of knows everybody that knows everybody else. Okay. So going there to say, oh, yeah, live the way you want to live, be yourself or whatever, can be detrimental, can be very consequential, life threatening in some places, because majority wins the vote in a lot of places in the world. The majority is what matters. Everybody else you have to follow, or at least understand the rule of the majority and look for the loopholes. Hence, seeking the kingdom, which is seeking the knowledge of understanding that system, and through that understanding you find the loopholes and you can find your way through that loopholes. I think I make myself clear on that. Okay.
So this volunteer was so focused on her own moral compass and moral values that she couldn't quite see how the advice she was giving this young woman could potentially kill her. The directors of the orphanage did not see the children's health as a priority. We were advised by other long-term volunteers at the orphanage that when residents did get malaria, despite there being money to pay for them to get medical care, they were not provided with medical care. The leadership of the orphanage were unwilling to spend the money. 80% of children,
they were unwilling to spend it to help the children. Okay? And there's a difference.
Who live at orphanages have not lost one or both parents. They are not orphans. They don't have birth certificates. They don't have IDs. No one knows who they are or where they are.
Okay, that could be wrong. Take that with a pinch of salt. So, when you grow up in a lot of places around the world, except here in the West where everything is documented, people don't go around with IDs. In fact, you don't get an ID until you want to do something that requires ID. Most people don't have ID, where I grew up. Before you start having an ID is when you get into uni, if you go to uni, or when you buy a car, so you need a driving license. When you buying a house, or when you buying a land or selling a land, most people are undocumented. They are citizens, so you need to understand what I mean. But most people are not in a database. The best most people have is a birth certificate. I know people like to say, oh, Africans don't have birth certificate, that is wrong. But in terms of ID and all the sort of documentations that you get here in the West, that is a bit lacking. It's largely lacking until you are in a position or you are in need of an ID. So that's might not be right. They might be orphans. They might not be. It might be staged for. It's a big business, like she said earlier. So don't take that too serious. Take it with a pinch of salt. And if you believe it, that's all because they don't have ID, they're not orphans or something. Well, I'm a Nigerian prince and I have an airport to sell you in Japan. You can make of that what you will.
These children are anonymous. The thing that really haunts me is the connection between orphanages and child sex trafficking. There are Brits, there are Americans, there are Australians who've been arrested, and that's just the tip of the iceberg for exploiting children and abusing them sexually and physically while making money from people like me who wanted to do good. They abused children in orphanages while under the guise of being a volunteer. Voluntourism is continuing to grow as an industry. During the pandemic, the trip providers who are the most successful were actively marketing trips to Tanzania as an opportunity to escape COVID and pretend like it didn't exist. You can say that you are giving 100% of fees back to a community without doing that. You can say those things because no one's checking up on you. No one's there.
It's a big bureaucracy. You have a lot of charity workers. It's a big organization. Like they are a lot of them and they very big. They have employees and they pay for services, for travels, hotels and all that. I'm telling you, this from experience, very close experience, which I'll be sharing in other videos when we talk about issues like this. The amount of money they spend for administration is a lot. In fact, there are reports that most of the money that people give to these organizations goes into administration. Now, what do you expect? What do you expect? I tell you, in order for you to go somewhere and do good, you pay me and I'll take you there. I connect you to the people. You see, it's never going to work. It's never going to work. You must ask yourself, what's the need for me? If it's about helping people, why can't I just go there and help people? Why do I need to help you help other people? Anyway, it is what it is.
Terrifying that this is happening. The reason why it continues to increase is that many of the experiences that are similar to what I had as a volunteer of having children running towards me and wanting to sit on my lap and wanting me to carry them are still so emotionally compelling. They're still so alluring. It feels so good that it's really easy for someone to apply exceptionalism.
All right, thanks to Vice for that. How should I even put it? It's a great informal series. Like that episode is very eye-opening for some people, not for me because I have an idea of all of these issues. I just want to share that with you guys. Here's my final thought. If you want to help anybody or a country or a group of people, go to that community and help one person, or use online, meet someone from that community on the internet and help them. See, forget what some people in Africa are posting online. They are broke. Many of them, not all of them, many of them are broke. You can help someone. There's a very motivating story that I saw on YouTube sometimes ago. The story of a YouTuber, a photographer who went to it's not Tanzania, Uganda, which is close to Tanzania. They're all in East Africa. And he met another photographer slash filmmaker who had poor gears. So when this American or Canadian, I think it's Canadian or American, a Western YouTuber, when he returned to his home country, he organized GoFundMe for that Ugandan creator. And people contributed a lot of money, different things to help that creator. And he went back to Uganda to deliver very good filming and computer and different type of equipment for creating films and photography. And this guy was so happy. And I think this is one of the best help you can give to people. to give them the tools to kill fish for themselves. And by doing so, he now has the ability to potentially help himself, his family, and also his local economy. That is one of the best things you can do. And another thing I think is even better is this: charity begins at home. Help your own people first. You're an American, there are so many homeless Americans. Start helping them before going all the way to India, or Nepal. You want to go to Tanzania, wherever, Niger, you name it. Before you head to those places, look around you. Help someone. Help a beggar on your street. Help an homeless person in your state, the next state, but in your country. Help someone close to you. Not there. That's how you can kind of have this effect kind of spread out from inside. Don't go that far, people are making climate change argument today and movement. You fly plane, you spend money that goes, all of those money, if you put it together and help someone, help a local business in your environment, help that mom and pops stuff. Help people in your local environment. But if you want to help people far away, go and help one family, give a scholarship to one child, so their parents would kind of be lifted of the burden of paying for their kids' school fees. So you go there, your kids why are they not in school? Why are they hawking on the street? Okay, I'm gonna pay this into this school account so they can stay in school and you don't have to worry about the school fees. Just worry about giving food to your children. That is gonna go a long way, in my opinion. And yeah, that's all I have to say to this video, which is the first video on this channel. It's long, I know, but I intend to make even longer content to give what I will call a more in-depth opinion and also learning. And then you can learn with me. Let me know what you think in the comments if you see this video, which is like the first video on this channel. And yeah, and my name is Eze once again, and you'll see me in the next one. Peace.